just give it just another moment, and then we'll start on today's webinar. Okay, as we've reached 11 o'clock, I shall make a start. So welcome everybody. This is Clover HR's webinar on the importance of employee wellbeing and employee assistance programs, which are often referred to as EAPs. So just a bit of housekeeping to begin with. If you wouldn't mind placing yourselves on mute, it may possibly have done that automatically for you as we're in a webinar. And there's a chat section. If anybody has any questions at all, I'll come onto that in a few moments. First of all, I'm going to introduce Clover HR as a whole. So at Clover HR, we're trusted people advisors, and we're here to help in any way that we can. We have combined over 200 years of experience, and we ensure that we give the best advice and services possible. So we're here to provide valued support in all areas of HR. We have particular specialisms in areas from recruitment, training, coaching, wellbeing, reward, employee relations, and many other people strategies. So really we can accommodate any kind of HR issues. Just briefly as well to mention, we've recently received our ISO 9001 accreditation, of which we're really proud. It demonstrates a commitment to professionalism for our clients and a really high standard of compliance within the business, which we achieve. So I'll introduce myself next. I'm Sarah. I'm a HR business partner and associate director with Clover HR, and I'll be running the webinar today. I'm also joined by a colleague, Lucy Childs. She's also a HR BP for Clover. She's going to be manning the chat box. So if you do have any questions, she'll be able to answer them if you just want to pop them into the chat, and she'll come back to you either with an answer or a means to follow up with you. So as I say, for any questions that you have, do feel free to put them in the chat. I will leave the floor open for questions at the end of the webinar as well, if anybody does have anything particular they want to discuss. So to give you a bit of an overview of what we're going to look at today, firstly, what is employee wellbeing and why it is important? Next, we'll move on to methods to improve employee wellbeing. Thirdly, what is an EAP, which is the topic really of what we're looking at today. And then finally, we'll just cover the benefits of an EAP for both the business and the employees. So I'll make a start looking at employee wellbeing. So in the past, when we've thought about employee wellbeing, it's generally been centered around health and safety in the workplace and ensuring that people are safe within their working environment. And this is completely correct. But more recently, there's been thoughts and research shifting towards taking a more holistic approach of a person's needs and wants while they're at work. So we're going to look at wellbeing, and what I'm going to do is split employee wellbeing into these 4 areas. And we'll go into a bit more detail on each of these. So firstly, physical wellbeing. Secondly, financial wellbeing. Thirdly, emotional and mental wellness. And then finally, culture and leadership and the impact that that has on wellbeing. So firstly, physical wellbeing. And within this, it encompasses personal health as well as the working environment. Promoting good physical well-being is really important. Personal health, in terms of a company, it's good to encourage a healthy lifestyle for your employees, both at work and at home. So some ideas that we'd look at include benefits that promote wellbeing, such as a cycle to work scheme, offers at the local gym, perhaps some kind of discount scheme that you could offer. Also, slightly more economical options for a business to look at would be a lunchtime yoga class or a walking group, or as simple as having healthy snacks available and healthy lunch options within the place of work. So a vending machine, not necessarily full of crisps and chocolate, but perhaps with some more healthy fruit options. Occupational health ties in very well to physical well-being as well. It can be a really useful support to this. And what it is essentially is a team of experts who can advise both the employees and the employers on health matters, particularly around physical health, but also mental health as well. And this is something that Clover HR can help with. We can put you in touch with an organisation who can be a reliable supplier for you in terms of occupational health services. So aside from personal health, looking again also at the working environment. So this goes beyond health and safety, as mentioned a moment ago. Employees spend a lot of time inside, and it's essential that their environment's safe and comfortable. Consideration should be given to what might seem fairly minor issues, things like temperature, air quality. So, is there a fan? Is there access to a window? Lighting, have they got appropriate lighting or lamps if needed? And noise conditions. So particularly in an open plan office, is there other areas where somebody can go to have a more peaceful time if needed? So we need to also consider not only within the workplace, but also home working environments, particularly recently, because there has been an increase in working from home and hybrid working as well. So I'm not going to go into any more detail on that, but just to let you know that we do have a separate webinar on effective home working, and this can be found in our YouTube channel. So just to summarise, there's a direct link between a work environment and productivity. The better the working environment, the more productive your employee will be. So these things are important to take into consideration when looking at physical well-being of an employee. So the second point we're going to come on to is emotional and social well-being. So to look at the first point that we have here on the slide, mental health. According to Mind, 1 in 4 adults in England will experience a mental health issue of some kind each year. Employees suffering from mental health illnesses may have increased absence from work and may be less productive. An employee assistance programme can offer support to these employees. It will remain confidential, which is often reassuring to employees and encourages them to use the service. And it's worth bearing in mind that the purpose of the service isn't for you as the employer to know all the details of what's happening in an employee's life, but to know that they are receiving support for that. So there may be nothing that you can do to help, but they are getting professional support. And we'll go on into more detail later on about the services that an EAP would provide. The second point to note in terms of emotional well-being and social well-being is the employee voice. And by that, we mean the employee feeling that they're heard. A way to do this is through employee forums, where people can have representatives for employees or volunteer themselves to take part in that. And also staff surveys, just to get an understanding of the situation and how people are feeling, possibly in a less formal environment than a meeting. These are things that Clover HR can help with. We've got vast experience of creating staff surveys, helping to set up and sustain employee forums. So these are things that we will be able to support with. Team working is the next thing I want to just touch on as well. And I'm talking about effective teams here. And by this, I mean an employee feeling included in a team and that their opinions and their work are valued. And by having this mentality, this will increase their job satisfaction, and that has a knock-on effect generally of higher performance in those individuals. And finally, to kind of tie this together, we're looking at good values and leadership. So an employee will look for a company that aligns with its value, with their own values. If a company has a set of values, these need to be fully integrated in the day-to-day practices. So what I'm saying here is you should do what you say you're going to do, particularly in terms of providing support and a good working environment to employees. Strong, fair leadership is key to employee satisfaction and well-being, as the employee will feel that their best interests are being considered, whether this be to do with the physical environment or their more emotional and social needs. The next well-being point to look at is financial well-being. So this is more important than ever with the current economic climate, with the rise in the cost of living, and many employees are going to be concerned about their finances. As the stats on the slide say, more than 8 in 10 people take their money worries with them to work. So it is going to play a factor into how people are feeling and behaving at work. Financial benefits is something we can look at to help with financial well-being. So in terms of this, just from a basic point of view, all pay should be fair and equal. A salary survey can be beneficial in ensuring this is the case. Unequal pay will lead to unhappy employees who feel undervalued for the work that they're doing. Clover HR can also provide benchmarking reports for particular roles to make sure that a business is being competitive in the financial benefits that they're providing. And then secondly, financial advice. Everyone can benefit from independent financial advice. And it might be that people having problems with debt or just wanting some support with future planning need somebody to talk to and to get some specialist advice from. An employee assistance programme offers free independent advice. And again, we'll discuss this further in the webinar in terms of what an EAP can provide. But it does cover this aspect of financial well-being. Next slide, I'm going to look at work culture. So ensuring realistic work demands are in place. So when work demands are too high, it causes stress and anxiety, and that can have a knock-on effect of reducing productivity. Completing a jobs evaluation can be really helpful in assessing the demands on employees and ensuring that they are achievable. Looking at work-life balance as part of a culture. Work-life balance looks different for different people, and it's about how the employee feels they can achieve this and working out what they need to do that, making sure that they have their work done, but also that it doesn't have a detrimental impact on their home life. For some employees, this will mean being able to spend time with the family without having to worry about work. For others, it might be the opportunity to go to the gym before work. Flexibility for employees and understanding that everybody is different and has different personal circumstances is often key to successfully promoting a work-life balance. And then finally, inclusion and diversity. Now, this is a massive and very important subject, which I'm not going to go into any more detail in today, other than to mention. But in terms of well-being, people want to know that they're respected, included, and valued. And that is very important, that they're aware of their place within the employment, their employment role. And why is employee well-being important? So we've looked at what employee well-being means, but why is it important? And essentially, it is that the investment you make to improve well-being will be rewarded with happier employees and a better place to work. You'll see an increase in performance, in resilience and engagement, and it's also a great recruitment tool to attract the best employees. So how to improve employee well-being? We've looked at the situation, to look at the situation you have now is the best first step. Are there any areas of concern within your organisation, or where you just feel that you can improve? There's an aspect that you know is okay, but you can see where you can improve on. We've mentioned having an EAP and how it can help increase employee wellbeing. But what actually is an EAP? Well, essentially, an employee assistance programme is designed to support employees with personal issues that might affect them in the workplace. Yeah. It's usually a phone line that the employees have free access to. And the typical things they can help with are, as we've covered already, legal, financial, health and wellbeing and mental support. So all those aspects that we've talked about in terms of what creates good wellbeing, an employee assistance programme will cover. And just to finalise, I'm just going to touch on the employee assistance programme, that Clover HR can provide. So we have an excellent EAP system. We can provide it to organisations. Our EAP service is part of a wider Clover wellbeing service, and it provides the highest quality clinical support for emotional issues and expert guidance for practical issues. It provides a vehicle for employees to address their issues and concerns in a confidential space, managed outside of the work environment, but you as an employer know that these issues are being dealt with. So just to mention, we don't charge for setup fees. We don't inflate costs where there's a smaller headcount. We are very competitive in our pricing. And if it's something that you are interested in, please do let us know and we can send out further details to you. So it is something that provides a vehicle for employees to address issues and concerns. It's all confidential. It's outside of work, but it ensures that your employees are being as productive as possible and dealing with their wellbeing issues in their personal space or within work, and can be very beneficial to an employer as well as the employee. So that is conclusion to the webinar today. If you do have any questions, please do feel free to either ask them now or pop them into the chat, and we will come back either now or we'll come back on email to you. So I'll just leave the webinar running just for a few more moments if anybody does have any particular questions they want to put into the chat, and we'll try and answer them for you. But thank you again for joining us today and hearing about employee assistance programs. Thank you.